Recently, I happened across a Jabbo video giving him just 20 minutes to get prepared for an entire Fallout New Vegas run. A really interesting concept that's heavily skewed towards optimizing this setup phase of the challenge, resulting in a highly entertaining and polished video. Instantly, seeing as I think only in heists and drills these days, I realised this idea had serious legs within a game like Payday. Such a massive part of the heisting fantasy is in preparing for that big score, starting from scratch and grinding your way to the toughest heists with the best possible builds. So what if I heavily restricted my ability to grind through heists to achieve that ideal setup, forcing me to seriously strategize as to where my time, energy and resources are spent? I considered going with the same sort of time limit concept, but realised that would turn this into yet another Infamy style speedrun, which by the way, since my 2-hour run a few years back, has been brought down to an almost unbelievable sub 50 minutes by Isaac Beck. So to avoid turning this into a pure speedrun, one that I'm clearly outclassed in, I'm instead giving myself a heist rather than time limitation. 5 heists to be more specific, after resetting my account to level 0, at which point I need to be ready to take on a death sentence heist, which I've decided will be Payday 2's final ever, the oil rig heist Crude Awakening. There will be no restarts across each attempt. If a prep heist goes south, that's just wasted cash and experience, meaning I'll need to counterbalance that risk and reward, and of course if I fail the final hit, I have to start all over again. Additionally, I'm only allowed to play any prep heist I choose once, so no spamming the same numerically efficient heists over and over, and I also won't be allowed to spend more than an hour on a single day, otherwise I'd be incentivized to stay on an endless loot heist for all eternity, which neither I, nor you, should want to see. Since I'm stacking a fair bit against myself here, I will be allowing 2 major concessions to make this somewhat bearable and hopefully more interesting to watch. First of all, in a turnaround from my usual full game runs, I will be enabling crew AI, and getting them as powerful as possible will be a top priority. Also, seeing as I'll never get the opportunity to max out a perk deck, even with optimized routing, those 14,000 points I'd need will be out of reach, I'll be allowing myself a completed deck from the start. Also, importantly, giving me access to blending in for an additional 45% XP gain. Other than that, no additional boons or restrictions. I can run any skill set or weapon I can get my hands on and play any heist on the roster, outside of Crude Awakening, which is being saved for the finale. That all said, let's find out if I can take on Payday 2's hardest difficulty with just 5 heists to prepare. There was only ever going to be one way to kick this all off, after resetting Yelwonk, who actually hasn't been seen since the Throwables only run at the start of this year. That's of course a speed smash and grab Ukrainian Job. I saw the current Infamy world record still runs this strat for easy initial level, so if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for the 5 heist man over here. The obvious con in picking a short heist on overkill, bearing in mind that's the only way to avoid Titan saves and enable the speedrun, is that we're wasting precious cash and experience in the process. But with the XP debuff placed on low levels accounted for, and considering how much stronger we'll be with even just a few skill points under our belt, it still feels like the correct call, rather than attempting something way out of my depth and wasting 1/5 of my available earning opportunities. So, after easily smashing my way through to Vlad's Tiara prize, I also scrounged together some extra cash and XP from the career mode. Every little helps at this stage, and whilst there's no point carrying on with jewelry store and bank heist, I can already put that extra 80k to good use, spending it on a high concealment akimbo primary to max out at 3 detection risk, and a suppressor for my Chimano for the heist to come. In addition, you can see why I've decided Hacker to be my complete perk deck of choice. Not only is this deck at the very top of the Death Sentence meta alongside Stoic, Leech and a few copycat variants after they overbuff the Pocket ECM into the unfair territory, but it's also one of the few hybrid perk decks in the game, functioning just as well for stealth as it does loud. Which is important as I want to take on the stealth-only Murky station next. Not only does sneaking the heist allow me to take on Death Sentence even at level 15, but it also comes with a massive bonus for the heist that follows, making it a no-brainer for number 2. It is of course hugely risky as a single slip up will waste this opportunity altogether, but that's precisely why I've chosen Murky Station. It's a heist I'm incredibly familiar with at this point, after trying to earn as many achievements on it as possible in a single attempt. It's relatively easy all things considered, not needing too many specialist skills to take on, enabling me to drop ECMs and instead focus on body bags for any potential cleanup necessary. From a reward perspective, it's also excellent, with a high XP payload, gaining extra value to multiply based on the number of objective items you pick up, as well as way more valuable bonus loot than you might expect. For once, I'm not just trying to ghost this with the 2 EMPs in tow, actually going back and forth with weapons defense and grow that bank balance beyond the measly 200k in my current account. In Payday terms, that's chump change, when some weapons are retailing from gauge at close to a mil. Although in my overzealous looting, I did run into a very close call, needing to pistol down 2 mercs between the central train carts, with Hacker and the Pocket ECM already justifying its inclusion, saving an otherwise unsalvageable pager juggle and enabling me to drag the pair out of sight over the pier edge. I won't lie, drone cam positioning massively saved my career there, allowing me to move at least a train full of rifles, each worth a whopping $460,000 to my take before the offshore split. I suppose that justifies the prices Cage is charging, in fairness. I had one final scare when a lazily tossed bag was noticed, again needing to not get unlucky with an alerted guard firing a stray bullet when shot, but just about cleaning up again, deciding to not get greedy and push my luck, risking the final train, escaping the docks with 10 full bags of loot. This is massive for my bank account. $1.7 million in spending cash is enough for some serious build investment. That's not even mentioning the 27 levels I gained, in addition to the 15% stealth XP bonus for whatever I do next. I know Election Day might have rewarded more on that front, but the risk profile really felt a little too similar to purchasing Starbreeze stock right now for my taste. Instead, I'll be walking that 15% bonus straight onto the heist that 99% of you will have guessed has to feature in my 5 heist spree. It is of course the endless cook-off. Whilst its XP per minute isn't even close to the highest in the game, in terms of XP potential per heist, it's right up there. And even with a hard stop preventing me from staying on heist longer than the hour mark, it's still got to be one of the most efficient options for this run. Especially bearing in mind it's a hell of a lot easier than something like Lab Rats, Prison Nightmare or even Santa's Workshop. Before that though, I need to go on a bit of a spending spree, already having the funds and levels to build out most of the personal setup I plan to take to the oil refinery. The Akimbo CR85Bs are utterly ludicrous value for money at just 81.2k, boasting the insane DPS prevalent throughout the Akimbo SMG category, in addition to exceptionally viable accuracy, stability and concealment stats. These things are up there alongside the Campbell LMG, Dragon's Breath shotguns and Grey snipers as some of the very best weapons in the game. And with them hardly making a dent in my funds, I was free to splash 581k on my secondary, the ever viable 5.7 pistol. This is a catch-all solution to shields thanks to its armor penetration capabilities, instantly fixing a weakness so many builds run into. It's also innately highly concealable, so the perfect pairing for what I'm now turning into a crit setup, sticking with the suit to maximise dodge, and pairing it with staple skills such as Bullseye, Low Blow and Jokers for an ultra streamlined level 42 build. Hell, what's even crazier about this is with Hacker as my deck of choice, this is pretty much a DLC-less setup right now if you happen to just own the base edition of the game. With 1.2 mil left over, I invested just under 800k into my crew AI, purchasing the R93 sniper rifle for their build specifically. At my current level, having not unlocked the stakeout or a certain other weapon we'll be mentioning later, high damage snipers like the R93 are usually their best option, which I'm more than happy to provide them with. I also invested some Continental coins, don't tell Lionsgate I said that, into the crew AI's hugely useful bonuses that make the bots more helpful than certain online teammates before they've even fired a bullet, spending the rest on a few attachments for my new primary and secondary combo, starting to optimise their handling stats even further. Anyway, back on task, I finally have the moolah in my offshore account to afford to buy this heist outright on Mayhem, previously having to wait patiently on the CrimeNet page until the specific heist I wanted to play showed up on my filtered difficulty. Why Mayhem, I hear you cry? You could get more XP per bag on Death Wish or even Death Sentence. Well, whilst technically correct, I first of all can't purchase heists above Mayhem until hitting level 80, so this is just more convenient. And bearing in mind I'm up against the clock here, with just 60 minutes to grab as many bags as possible, Mayhem is probably that comfort point in terms of difficulty where I can place all my focus on cucking and secure as many bags as possible. With a 12.5 times XP multiplier on the base 8,000 experience per bag, this or Death Wish is likely also the sweet spot in terms of risk reward. I'll still be earning over 100k XP per bag, meaning I'd need just 230 to hit level 100 straight up. Sadly, Bane really sucks at instructing the strangely random meth cooking process, meaning we're more likely capped to producing between 3 to 4 bags every 10 minutes, so no max level dream here I'm afraid. Still, things were going well until a sniper popped up and reminded me of the ever-present possibility of dodge decks getting deleted. Fortunately, Hacker provides plenty of self-sustain as well as every other utility under the sun, meaning it was easy enough to top myself up even without a medic bag in my back pocket. Unfortunately, Payday 2, after 10 years of updates to the already rocky diesel engine, runs on little more than hope and love, and sadly hasn't forgiven me for my recent hiatus, deciding 30 minutes and 400 kills into an endless heist will be the perfect time to start hard crashing on my machine. That means no crash logs for me to even work out what the hell is going wrong with it. Not to worry, I can just run it back. The crash prevented any progress being saved, meaning my stealth bonus is still present, and so I don't think I should be counting this as a failure. This time, I'm focused a little more on just cooking and a little less on the killing. I'm starting to wonder if my HUD mod might be contributing to the instability though, making it to 15 bags secured by 49 minutes with over 8 mil on its way into my bank account shortly, before just under 10 minutes later, disaster struck once more. Yet another crushing hard crash, even after reducing my textures to medium. This one really stung. I just spent an hour and a half steadily losing my mind listening to Bane giving false instructions, never truly in any danger of going down on mayhem, all whilst me and the crew racked up over 1,500 SWAT kills. This just ain't good for the Payday ecosystem, and for a challenge run that was meant to be comparatively short for my sake as much as the videos, this is sort of taking the piss. However, the path to becoming a death sentence heister once more is fraught with frustrations of all varieties, not least the technical sort. So we persevere, finally dropping Vanilla HUD Plus, at least whilst trying to remain on a heist for an hour, as I'm assuming these crashes are related to Payday 2's 32-bit memory issues. Honestly, if you have any more insights for me, I'm all ears, because I'm not sure I can take another undeserved hour-long setback. And fortunately, I won't need to right now, as the duct tape and dreams held together for me to make it out this time, deciding to not hang around for Twitch to swing back around, and instead getting out of there in 55 minutes on dirt graphics and HUDless. One important thing to note is I did locate all gauge packages this time, a sizable XP boost when you consider I lugged 20 bags in total to the escape van next to some really favourable bile drop RNG, a massive XP dump for any rookie heister. Quite frankly, I'm made for life. With over 10 million of what I stole going directly into my spending account, no weapon will be outside my price range at this stage, and I can just live off the interest. But more important than that is the XP. Even accounting for the 10% base reduction due to my sub 60 entry level, thanks to a worthwhile 400k direct from that Murky Water stealth bonus, this completion cracked the 1.3 million mark, blasting me to level 65 in an instant. Okay, maybe not in an instant, that took over 2.5 hours, so I'm not sure I'll be competing with Jabbo's 20-minute man, but within this rule set, I'm only just past the halfway mark in terms of heists. And with that said, it's time to beef up once more and start challenging myself to get some idea if death sentence really will be within my grasp. But first, it's time to actually taste that rare sense of progression in Payday 2 as I dump all my newly acquired skill points into the monstrously powerful body expertise, making this build that bit more deadly even without pinpoint accuracy. But if you think I've just got a hell of a lot stronger, you ain't seen nothing yet. With over $10 million lying in my bank account after just 3 heists, I'm already in a position to purchase almost any weapon in the game, and at just $920,000, the Akron LMG from the penultimate weapon pack ever released might be the best value for money in the entire series, if you're playing with bots. You see, they place a decimal in the wrong place when setting its stats specifically for the AI to use, giving it 10 times the damage it was intended to have, and effectively 10 times the damage of any weapon that they can use. If you thought the R93 helped them to carry with over 300 kills each on Cuckoff, you haven't seen the half of it. Time now to test it out by upping the ante. I'm looking for a big bank on Death Wish, not only because a nostalgia run such as this one would hardly be complete without heisting at least one financial institution, but also because it remains one of the most XP efficient single heists I can play without doing something truly painful or risky like Farmer Miserable on Goat Sim or an all loot Golden Grain Casino. A nice way to ease into those harder heists that are to come. Just one problem, with my heart set on a heist I couldn't purchase, I was left staring at CrimeNet for way longer than any normal person would be willing to for that 1 in 70 odd chance for it to appear. Still, it was more than worth the wait, deciding to go for the bus escape, bearing in mind I will be stealing as much loot as I can get my hands on for money XP. With the 14 times Death Wish multiplier, it's more than worth my time. But before I could even think about the loot section, I still had to open up a path to the vault, dropping Floyd out of the sky for a top 10 heisting moment of all time, and easily holding out in the foyer as the cops love to funnel directly into my bullets. Once at the vault with the beast set up, I decided to take the fight to the SWATs, holding them at the hallway between the front and rear sections of the bank with the utmost ease. These CRs really are no joke, and have me salivating at the thought of Akimbos actually making their way over to Payday 3. They utterly decimate dozers, and with Hacker functionally controlling 90% of the map space, even the horde shooter spawns of modern Payday 2 don't come close to overwhelming me. And hell, even if they did, Healer was keeping up on kills on her own, as the bot's Acrons are just as lethal as my own primaries, comfortably crunching their way through any cops I happen to miss, or get to a moment later than they set their eyes on them. I can't emphasize this enough. I'm pretty sure if these guys could interact with objectives, they'd be stronger than any Payday player out there. This dozer evidently wanted none of it, and who can blame him really? Even the drill was scared, only breaking down a single time, which is a record for a 5-minute timer in my recent memory. A smooth entrance into a 2-gate vault with 15 easily accessible loot bags inside. After lockpicking my way through to a 16th, I finally decided I had enough to get out, lugging the bags through the bus crash, another top 10 heisting moment which Big Bank is full of. Not much else to report on this one, doses are a joke, bag moving is slightly more tolerable with a full set of pack mules at my beck and call, and Hacker, well, in hindsight, I'm not sure I needed the full deck, but let's see how long I'll feel that way once I make the jump to Death Sentence. And with another few levels under my belt for Bulletstorm and extra lead, I do believe it's about time I pull that trigger. Admittedly, in the most roundabout way possible. You see, I'm looking for a Death Sentence boiling point, probably the simplest Death Sentence heist in the game outside of stealth. I see this heist as Death Wish Plus, as the Russian SWATs are upgrades on their US counterparts across the board, especially those dozers and tasers, but none reach the same levels of bullshittery as those cross-mapping Death Sentence deals do. That's because they never gave the Spetsnaz the Death Sentence damage buffs, owing most likely to the unique weapons they wield. This means I can take the step up without being royally decimated at every turn and wasting my last opportunity for levels. Fortunately, Boiling Point remains a solid XP option in its own right, as well as an opportunity to hone my skills a bit more before the final dive into Crude Awakening. Making it over the tundra and into the courtyard for the EMP section went without a hitch. Medic dozers will spawn here, but honestly that can feel like a debuff for the cops, seeing how weak their personal weapons are, easily crashing an entrance to the lab, and starting up the first patient scan. Here, Hacker's only weakness is found out, as the turrets that randomly spawn on the roof really don't care for my dodge and are unaffected by the pocket ECM, unlike their full-size relatives. This one taking me down dented that air of invincibility I'd felt previously, and despite blowing it away with a vengeance, rare for me to be on the end of that equation, it was enough to make me stutter as I went down a second time to a dozer shortly after. Not wanting to risk hitting grey screen, I forced my way back outside, which was easier said than done with half the ambush seemingly already set up to intercept me, needing to race across the snowfields for the only medic bag I had access to. As ludicrously strong as Bulletstorm is with Akimbos, without a full build I just don't think it's worth losing the lifeline medic bags offer, so that is something I'll be adapting to for the final heist. Anyway, that rush was mostly in vain as I was sent right back to just one down on my way inside again, prompting yet another hugely risky push for a final set of 3 downs. I clung onto them much longer this time, completing all 4 patient scans for max heist XP, before once again finding myself wide open to failure for the final cold walk that is the sniper-riddled escape section. I somehow clung on to that lifeline all the way out to the courtyard again, before hitting the deck with no more chances remaining. I didn't fancy my odds going up against 8 fresh sniper spawns with just a 1 in 3 chance to dodge, but thanks to Jiro over here taking that heat for me, I was just about able to limp my way to victory for a much needed final XP infusion, bringing with it 5 more crucial skill points. These I will be placing into Combat Doctor instead of ammo skills, as those down resets are going to be essential on Death Sentence proper, in addition to Bloodthirst, a skill I'm really saving for the final boss of this run. This is the final build after just 5 heists to prepare, hitting a more than respectable level 72 in the process, with over 14 million cash in hand and a very reliable setup that you can honestly put together on the cheap. It doesn't matter how well you prepare though, Death Sentence, which is a difficulty I avoid on my usual runs for good reason, can still be hell for the uninitiated, and in my case, out of practice. This is my first true Death Sentence loud run in well over a year, maybe even since Payday 3 released, so I'm not all that surprised the very first heavy SWAT I ran into gave me the absolute crab walking business. Not to worry though, the crew AI are here to prevent me from instantly sandbagging my one and only chance at this one, as I stabilised thanks to Hacker's more than competent healing and took a Zeal as one of my own for enough health to survive one extra bullet. Moving into the corridor shooter section of this heist, this is where the Akimbo CRs really enter their element, with their DPS effectively uncontestable. Where things fall apart though is at the transfer pipe section. I both adore and hate this puzzle objective. It's got to be one of the most creative Payday 2 objectives since maybe the mine door in Bullock's mansion, although the arena it's placed in is hell on earth of a death sentence. With its sprawling layout, spawns on all sides, and damage drop-off not applying to the cops, pain is all but assured, as I went down 3 times in quick succession, unable to get to cover and heal up. I entered custody for the first time on this run, failing Crude awaken. Wait a minute. Of course, the AI in this game can actually trade us, and it looks like those hostages I took during the initial stealth portion were worth their weight in gold. After Akron Dragon over here had soloed all the dozes on the map, he wandered around the pipe section for long enough for me to basically solve it in my head, bringing me back completely unscathed right where I'd left off. Even better, the game doesn't seem to have a clue how to handle spawns when you've been offed once and brought back from the great beyond, deciding I was free to solve the puzzle in peace and wait out the oil pump with literally no interruptions. That or they were just scared off by the might of the crew AI. Regardless, this is an opportunity I can't pass up on, cheesing undoubtedly the toughest section of the run and saving all my resources in the process. All that was left was the janky fight with Santiago. My crit bloodthirst dreams were shattered as Hacker just doesn't provide enough resistance against the boss to face him in single combat, but the crew AI once again were more than happy to pull their weight, unloading mag after overpowered mag into the poor lad, actually unlocking the Human Torch achievement for killing him with only 3 oil pit activations. Yep, these guys are broken, leaving the jaw ajar for me to close the pressure valves and blow the rig sky high. Hacker was absolutely made for these escape rushes, stun-locking every SWAT attempting to stand in my way and allowing me to mow my way through indiscriminately, finally stealing back a little of that limelight from my crew. That was until disaster struck. Even on medium textures, the madness of the Crude Awakening escape was too much. Again, I assume a memory issue, bricking my entire PC as I was left staring into the black abyss of this cartoon texture of a bullet casing, which looks like it belongs in a completely different game. 2 minutes from heist and challenge completion, that is gut-wrenching. But it wouldn't have been right to end it this way with the oil pipes utterly cheesed. That's what the game was trying to tell me, or at least how I have to spin it in my own head to deal with the crushing agony of having the sworn duty of running this hell back. Once again, getting to the pipes was a breeze, and this time I actually had decent RNG in terms of solving it, working from front to back and quickly returning to a path I'd memorised during the weeks of this heist launch to set the transfer into motion before the gangways were flooded with dozers. There was still plenty of time for me to take a battering, exposed whilst defending the pump, but cover's much easier to come by when you're not trying to trace pipes up and down stairwells, only falling a single time before making yet another final journey to the flammable boss fight. Still determined to make this melee strategy work, the crew took full advantage of his obsession with me, unloading over 100k of damage in a single cycle, needing to singe him just once more to take him down for good. Just one thing left to do, if Payday 2's willing to hang in there with me for one final rush to victory. With most of the SWATs unable to even return fire thanks to Hacker, this is further proof that my success was all but assured on the crashed run, making it past one final minigun dozer spawn, blocking access to the zipline back down to the boat to experience the single most cinematic moment in the franchise's history, all whilst on the road blasts out on full volume. A death sentence heist clear after just 5 missions to prepare. Admittedly, Crude Awakening is only a mid-difficulty death sentence heist all things considered, spiking at the pipe section, again at Santiago, if you don't have a legion of bugged out companions do the job for you. But even so, after 2 years out the game really, back in the saddle, I'm pretty happy with this result, dinging level 74 with a fully functional build after just 6 heists in total. Honestly, I'm not sure the full perk deck was necessary all things considered. With Crew AI active, I didn't need an extra crutch, but I think the trade-off would have been visible in my own gameplay, so I'm torn as to this ruling decision. Regardless, I'd be interested to see just how few heist top players need to tackle Death Sentence with a similar rule set. My guess would be 3, a starter, a stealth heist, and then an hour-long endless one to get into the mid-60s, but in all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised to see them do it at level 0 if given access to a full perk deck. There's a free video idea for any content creators if you're interested. For me personally, I just wanted to try a slightly faster format in between my next classic challenge run, because this next one is a biggie, incorporating what's probably Payday's best and largest ever mod. So look forward to that one and me relearning the game for it. I hope you enjoyed this video and might be able to take some inspiration from the process in your own gameplay or videos. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.